Hello and welcome to Baffling Cyclops. I'm David.
And I'm Pepper Proxy.
Today I think you wanted to talk about Gordon Ramsay.
Well, not just Gordon Ramsay, but including Gordon Ramsay. We've been having kind of an ongoing conversation today about cooking shows in general.
Right. And a little bit about how the Food Network has changed and Gordon Ramsay has changed over time.
Yeah, so some of our listeners may not know, but we used to do a recap show on, was it just Master Chef and Master Chef Junior, or did we do any other shows?
We just did Master Chef Junior.
Okay, just
we did one full season of Master Chef Junior.
Okay. Well, it's called Watching People Cook, and you can still listen if you want. I don't know if it would mean anything since it's from a while ago. But so we have had a history with Gordon Ramsay and also cooking shows.
Yeah, we have. We used to watch, I can't remember if it was Bravo or BBC America, but they used to do the British version of Hell's Kitchen, and that's when or not Hell's, is it Hell's Kitchen? The one where he would go to the restaurant and correct the cook.
Well, that would maybe be Kitchen Nightmares.
Kitchen Nightmares, yeah. So he would go to the British version was a much gentler one than the American version, although he did sometimes still yell at people. But he usually dragged them outside to play football or cricket.
Right. And then I think when he maybe came over across the pond, he maybe started to call people donkeys.
Although I think he did yell at people in England as well.
Yeah.
But he developed his kind of greatest hits one-liner insults here in America.
Well, yeah, and I think that was the thing that, we were talking a little bit amongst ourselves about, just like the Food Network and Master Chef, because we still watch it. And it's way more fun to watch when you're not doing a recap on it.
Yeah, I did not enjoy doing the recap. And it also is hard because it's so repetitive. And
yes.
I tend to zone out during the repetitive parts, and I do something else while we're watching something. And towards the end, it was almost painful to give Master Chef Junior 100% of my attention.
Yeah, I remember.
While it was on.
I remember.
It's just like,
So yeah, because we've been talking about that. And as a tangent, I think Master Chef Junior was maybe better when Christina Tozzi was a judge. And she's got her own weird show on Netflix.
Yeah.
But Gordon Ramsay, so because we were talking about Kitchen Nightmares specifically, you pulled up some old YouTube clips.
Yes, we watched YouTube clips of especially memorable moments of Gordon Ramsay tearing apart people's food, noticing things, pulling dirt out of their couches. And
Was there anything that we watched in the recap that you remember? Like anything that was like seared into your mind, like, oh, I'm never going to forget this?
I think the Amy's Baking Company.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's in all the best of clips, because she was so out of it on the show, like so unaware of how she was coming across, that it made for a really odd show.
Well, here's the side note. You probably don't remember this, but at the time that episode originally aired, I was spending a lot of time down in Arizona, Phoenix, Scottsdale area, and some of my friends down there, they actually knew Amy and her husband Sammy, or they knew of them.
Okay.
And I have to say, to the best of my recollection, again, it was years ago, they were portrayed on Kitchen Nightmares actually better than they were in real life.
Yeah, they got a kind edit.
They did.
Because they kind of went back on the kind edit a little bit because Amy and her husband attacked him so much in the press after the show came out that I remember they released an extended episode that had more to show how crazy they really were and how they had tried to edit them to be in the style of the show, which is to not make the people look like horrific villains.
Right.
Because you don't get people to do the show more people to do the show if you make the other people look bad.
Yeah, nobody was going to sign up.
No,
Even if you do get a kitchen remodel.
Yeah, and it's because nobody wants to be the jerk. And she came across as such a jerk. And one of the scenes we watched last night was the final conversation that Gordon Ramsay had with her and her husband when they decided to pull out of filming the episode.
Yeah.
And even that was crazy.
It was so interesting. I thought it was so interesting to see how Gordon was communicating with her because, he calls people donkeys and he gets up in people's faces. But I think he knew with the two of them, they were past the point of any kind of logical entertainment because he started to speak very softly and quietly, and she was just escalating, and it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it was a totally one-sided argument because he was
like, okay,
I
sure.
think when he sat down at the table, the production crew already knew they were pulling out, and she came ready to argue with them even more, and they were doing horrible things like asking people for tips and then not giving it to the server, and
they were stealing from their employees,
and firing people for really odd reasons.
Well, and we didn't watch this on the recap we watched yesterday, but the other funny thing that I remember, from that episode, was Gordon was she was meticulous as far as cleanliness, and just organization and having food properly labeled and all of that. But when he did it, he tasted the food. He was like, it's not great. It's not good, whatever, except the baked goods.
Right.
And he loved the baked goods. And she, if I recall correctly, she pretended as though she had made them because it was called Amy's Bakery.
Amy's Baking Company.
But she outsourced all the pastries.
Yeah, she was actually just getting them brought in, which is crazy.
From a local baker who Gordon then went on to meet during the episode.
Yeah, it was a very strange. And she was obsessed with her cats, which nothing wrong with being obsessed with your cats. And she sang weird cat songs.
Oh, that's right. Well, they're not in the United States anymore.
No, I have no idea what was going on with them.
Yeah, there was some. I read it last night. I think they're in Israel.
Okay.
Because he was, he had some drug charges and racketeering charges and lost his citizenship here. So they had to move out of the country. So they moved back to Israel, where I think he's from.
You're a horrific narcissist or sociopath if you're involved in some kind of criminal activity and you want to be on a Gordon Ramsay show at the same time. Because most people would run away from that because they don't want to get caught.
Yeah, unless you're a real housewife.
Yeah. So I'll have to look into that, though. I hadn't heard anything about that. Did you read an article?
I just did after we were talking yesterday, I'm like, I wonder what happened because they continued with their business for a while after the show aired. But then they also got, I think she said they got death threats and stuff. So I was just really curious, where are they now? That's where they are.
Yeah. Do you think it was kind of the same kind of relationship that appears to be going on in The Real Housewives between Erica Jane and her husband, where there's a money laundering scheme going on?
I didn't think about that, but it totally could be that the restaurant was a front.
Which makes it even which makes it even stranger that it would be a front and they would want to be on TV and steal tips.
The tip thing is really vile.
Yeah, it's just they just didn't consider the people that work for them to be human.
Yeah.
So it was she was so kind to her cats and so mean to the people that worked for her. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think she even called one of her some of her employees that one or
that I don't remember.
Them. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, so. I think there was some of that going on too.
I just remember her crazy cat stuff and her thinking she was cute. being
Yeah.
cute and coming
It was
off
like,
as just like
no.
nuts.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was not great. Yeah, so what I wanted to do was maybe even put a call out to our listeners if they have found any great food content. It doesn't have to be like, cable or TV. It could be on the internet or what have you. We'd love to hear we'd love to hear from them because we kind of burned through like some of the good things we like.
Yeah. And we have our YouTube stuff that we like. And
Like my baby boy David Seymour
yeah, like
that
your
I've been watching since he was like a teen.
yeah. But we tend to fade in and out of those.
Yeah, we
Those shows.
stopped Bon Appetit because I just can't deal with Chris Morocco. Although we do sometimes hate watch it.
It's interesting how much the Food Network has changed, though, because even the Reddit board devoted to the Food Network is mostly about how much better the Food Network used to be.
Do you think that has to do with just a generational thing, or do you really think it was a lot better?
Well, they've dramatically changed what the Food Network is,
Yeah.
and they got purchased, and they're part of that Discovery Plus family of networks now.
Oh, I thought that was Script. Is it still Scripts?
Don't know.
I'll need to look at that.
Yeah, but I think they're part of that Discovery Plus family of networks, as they call it. So I think that the idea of what they do has changed so much because it used to be focused on producing things for the television channel, and now I think they focus on, a multi levels of things like TikTok, shows specifically for streaming services, Instagram live feeds, Twitter, like
Yeah.
all of these things are all part of it. So it's no longer just like focused on making shows for the food for that network.
Yeah, it's weird because it hasn't come up in my TikTok feed, but it feels to me like what I've recently watched or been consumed from the Food Network. It's not about cooking, and I think that's the reason why I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, it's very focused on competition.
Competition, yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel like I might still learn a little bit from watching. Not nearly as much as I used to, or even, I don't even know if the cooking channel's still around, but that one was good too, but they kind of don't seem very,
Yeah. And I don't think it's a generational thing where they're just trying to focus on things that are for younger people,
Yeah.
which is generally what happens. Is
Yeah.
like the people that used to like it are like it's no longer as good,
Yeah.
but they pick up new viewers on
Yeah.
it. And I just think it's this weird husk where people watch it out of inertia because they've watched it forever.
right.
They just don't want to change direction or speed. Like they're just like it's time for the Food Network shows, and and they have a few shows that have been on forever that are still on there, but it's very very hard. And some of the people that are on there are good and interesting to watch. So it's not a matter of like they're all terrible people on there.
Yeah,
either.
I just stopped watching because like I said, I like to watch actual cooking, and maybe that's on during the daytime.
I don't know, but to me, the other thing that's changed is if you just want to actually watch someone cook, and we've talked about this before, is YouTube is so much better because if you wanted to make pad thai,
Yeah.
you can watch YouTube and see 5 people make pad thai in like 20 minutes of viewing time.
Since you brought that up, can I say I have watched multiple pad thai YouTube channels.
I know.
And I gotta say, like, if anybody wants to make pad thai and they're intimidated a little bit, Jet Tila's pad thai is great. It's tasty, it's good. One of the secrets is tamarind paste. But I highly recommend that.
And because one of the things that we did when you were starting to make dan dan noodles was we watched a ton of different videos of people making dan dan noodles, and it's not one recipe that you use to make dan dan noodles. It's kind of like, oh, I'll take this from here and take this from there, which you don't get on the Food Network.
No.
It's basically, this is what I'm making, and it's almost never the basic dish. The Food Network, when they make it, they always try and put a twist on it.
Yeah.
To make it somehow unique or Food Network-y.
Or you have to have it. What was the thing? What's your story? What's your food story? Is that what they...
And they always have a food story to go
It's
on.
like, don't make people make up crap about their dead grandpa. Just like let them cook their food. But I do have to say, I've been liking, I know there are problems with BuzzFeed. Don't get me wrong and don't get me started. But I have been really enjoying, I like the one with Andrew, Inca, and, oh shoot, I can't remember the other guy's name. The one who does really big food. When they all talk about, they have 20 pounds of tomatoes and what they made with them. But also I really like Stephen Lim, who used to be with BuzzFeed, but now started his own network. And he does this show. His show is Dish Granted. And he's not a chef. He's an Ohio boy. Maybe that's why I like
which you
him.
recently found out.
I love him. But that's fun to watch, and it also I've learned things from watching those shows.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to me that's kind of taken the place of what Food Network used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Because kind of the only reason the Food Network could exist exactly the way it was is because there really wasn't much competition.
No. Yeah, you're right.
And the weird thing now is there's so much competition in the food competition world. It's like the Food Network doesn't even stick out so much, and the only hook they have is the personalities, not the actual shows.
Yeah,
because the shows are almost immaterial. It's whether or
interchangeable
if you like the host.
Yeah.
So just
well, speaking of weird, like taking food competitions to like the nth degree. I don't get this Christina Tosi. I love her. But I don't get why it's a competition, because they have professional bakers and pastry chefs, and they're paid. It's not like, they win a prize. But the way that it's formatted is formatted as if it's a competition, a friendly competition. It's real weird to me.
Yeah, Bake Squad.
Yeah, it's a squad of pros, and they all compete to get their dessert or their item picked by the person.
But it all seems very pre-scripted as to who's going to get picked for what.
I agree.
Event.
I agree.
And sometimes the people that you aren't going to be picked,
they kind of throw in the towel.
They throw in the towel. Like one of the bakers is French, and he sometimes just gave up. Like one time he's like, "Here's a stick with dangly chocolate on it." When we knew he wasn't going to get picked. Yeah. So that was interesting. The other thing I learned from that show was one of the bakers is from the south side of Chicago. And,
oh my gosh, I know what you're going to say.
And she said that it was kind of a traditional food, holiday food, was to stick a candy cane, a peppermint candy cane, inside a pickle.
A dill pickle.
And eat it at the same time.
I think she was pranking us.
No, I looked it up. There was an article in the Chicago Tribune about how that's exists. Their thing is you use your mouth, you bite the tip off of the pickle,
okay,
and then shove that candy cane in there and eat it.
Okay. Well, maybe with that we're done for the week.
That's my pickle shoving.
Yeah, maybe the pickle shoving and biting the tip is enough for today.
All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and to read our show notes. Sign up for our newsletter at bafflingcyclops.com.